This witch will die at the age of 18, but she only learned of this fate on her 17th birthday. Today, on Meg's 17th birthday, she rose early as usual to make tea for herself and her master, and prepared meals for the small animals. However, before she could start her daily training, her master abruptly told her that she had only 1 year left to live due to a curse she carried. A curse from ancient times unknown to modern witches, which even her master could not remove. She could only show Meg her future self a year from now, a figure in decline. Who would have guessed that this old woman was the 18-year-old Meg? On her next birthday, Meg's biological clock would malfunction, causing her body to age 1,000 times faster than normal, leading to her death within a month. Meg panicked and urgently asked her master if there was any solution, but the answer was no. The curse was inherent, like a disease. However, there was still a slim chance. Her master then gave Meg a magical bottle to collect fragments of emotion, intense feelings harbored by people. The seed of life, which could prevent her death, was created from happy emotions. Meg needed to collect 1,000 tears of happiness to cultivate this seed. If she could eat the seed of life, she could avoid death. Collecting 1,000 happy tears within 12 months made Meg feel overwhelmed, as if her master had told her she was beyond help. Frustrated, she put on her witch's attire and stormed out. Contemplating her impending death made her question everything she had done so far. Had all her hard work and studies been for nothing? And it was her birthday today. Fortunately, Meg was naturally optimistic. She cheered herself up by playing with her pets and was then spotted by a young girl named Anna. Anna had come to ask Faust, Meg's master, for help to send some flowers to her mother to help her rest peacefully, as her mother had passed away after a long illness. Her father said her mother had worked hard all her life and now deserved to rest. Anna wanted to decorate her mother's resting place with some fragrant flowers her mother had always wanted to see again. Meg, who had lost her own parents and was raised by her master, decided to help Anna find these flowers. As they searched the town, people greeted them, showing how well-liked Meg was in the town. They encountered Fren, a local beauty, who was propositioned in jest by a local rogue, only to turn him down flatly. Meg's fame was partly due to her master, Faust, who was one of the world's 7 greatest sorcerers. Anna asked if Meg would become a powerful sorceress, like Aunt Faust. Meg was about to affirm, but then remembered her limited time left and abruptly changed the subject, taking Anna back home. At Anna's house, her father, a regular customer at their magic potion shop, was unsure of his wife's favorite flower and asked his daughter to fetch the family photo album. While preparing tea for Meg, he struggled to find even the tea leaves. Fortunately, Meg recognized the herbal tea and found something else in the cupboard. They looked through the album together, which contained photos of the man and his wife from their younger days traveling to various countries. One of the photos was taken during a trip to the Far East, where they visited a mountain temple. Unexpectedly, it began to snow, even though it was a warm spring day and clear skies. However, it was pink snowflakes that fell. Regrettably, ever since Anna was born, her mother could only busy herself with household chores. If they had known their time together would be so short, they would have traveled more despite the difficulties. The man deeply regretted this. Meg quickly poured the tea, which was fragrant with herbal notes and a hint of something hidden. Suddenly, Meg remembered something and asked Anna to take her to where her mother was resting, wanting to show her the pink snow and the flowers her mother loved. Anna led Meg to her mother's grave, aware that her mother would not wake up. Not even the world's greatest witch could awaken her. Before her mother's death, she had asked Anna to take care of her father, who had been sadly looking at her photos, hoping that if her mother could rest peacefully, it might ease his mind. Anna's father also came, still unable to let go, and wanted to see the flowers Meg mentioned. Meg noticed that their home was decorated with various flowers, mostly national flowers from countries they had visited, which her mother wanted to show Anna to broaden her view of the world. However, the one flower she could not obtain and wanted Anna to see most was the cherry blossom from the Far East, which blooms in early spring. Meg then chanted a spell and opened her palm to reveal several dried tea leaves. As the spell concluded, pink petals flew from her hand, falling from the sky just as Anna's father had described. It turned out it was not pink snow, but cherry blossom petals. Meg had magically recreated the scene, surprising even herself with the scale of the magic. She reassured Anna's father that his wife would surely understand his true intentions, because all the herbs at home were specifically chosen for his health. Anna's mother cared for her family more than anyone. Afterwards, Meg held Anna's hand. The flowers her mother most wanted her to see, Anna had now seen with her own eyes. Father and daughter embraced, crying, and their tears were automatically collected by the magic bottle. When the cherry blossom illusion faded, Anna sincerely thanked Meg, saying she would become an even greater witch than Aunt Faust. Meg couldn't bear to tell Anna that she only had a year left to live, but this motivated her to try even harder. She promised Anna that when she became a great sorceress, she would show her real cherry blossoms. That evening, energized, Meg returned to the shop and eagerly showed her master the 2 tears she had collected that day. Unfortunately, they were not purely tears of happiness, but mixed with joy and sadness. However, they contained an unusual, powerful force. Her master was pleased with Meg's performance, praising her ability to open people's hearts. Meg, unfazed, then asked her master why he had waited until today to tell her about the curse. He countered by asking if she could have achieved this 5 or 6 years earlier. Knowing herself well, Meg realized she would have felt complacent with more time. Her master also said that only the current Meg had the qualifications and ability to fight against fate. Whether to give up hope and accept death, or to explore the slim possibility of survival, was Meg's decision to make. And of course, Meg chose to bet on herself. She would collect 1,000 tears of happiness. Since learning that she would succumb to a curse in a year, Meg has been anxious every day about how she could collect 1,000 tears within that time. She even stressed her little pet owl, who quietly calculated that she needed to gather at least 3 tears a day. Meg felt overwhelmed. At this moment, her friend Frezin came over. Meg shared her predicament and showed Frezin the 2 tears she had painstakingly collected that week. Although Frezin didn't understand magic, she found the tears beautiful. However, her visit was actually to seek help from Meg's teacher to repair a watch. The watch shop had declared it beyond repair, but this watch was very important to Frane. She wanted it fixed at any cost. The master took the watch, sensed the weak spirit inside it, and noted that the so-called spirit, which animates objects, was fading, and the watch had lost its driving force. However, he mentioned that it might still be possible to repair it, and directed Meg and Frane to Siebert's shop. Siebert, the local watch shop owner, recognized the watch as an old German military model, and said he needed to inspect it to determine if it could be repaired. While waiting in the shop and helping Siebert mind the store, Meg asked Frane why she didn't simply get a new watch. Frane explained her emotional attachment to it. They also talked about Meg's curse. Frane looked visibly upset at the thought of Meg dying. This reminded Meg of when they first met. Meg was fighting with local kids and got beaten up. Frane had come over, applied band-aids, and cried because Meg looked in pain. Meg, who was rather carefree, had wanted to see Frane smile, and Frane had managed to smile despite the situation. Meg promised not to die easily, determined to see Frane enter and graduate from university, attend her wedding, and meet her grandchildren. Siebert returned with the watch, regretfully informing Frane that it had indeed reached the end of its life. Not surprised, since it was an heirloom from her grandfather, Frane was disappointed. Recalling the day Frane's grandfather died, Meg decided to help her friend by holding a memorial for the watch in the park. They set up a magic circle to thank the item for its long service. Placing the watch in the center, Meg snapped her fingers and chanted a spell. Surprisingly, a green light emerged from the watch, circling Frane before soaring into the distance and entering the cycle of reincarnation. The spirit from the watch had returned to its origin and would reincarnate as a new spirit in another object. Meg wished for it to accompany Frane's beloved grandfather again. Frane, moved, shed a tear, which was naturally collected. On her way back with the collected tear, Meg ran into Granny Freya and walked her home. Before leaving, she suddenly saw Freya enveloped in a dark mist. Her master had once told her that those surrounded by black mist, a sign of the Grim Reaper, would soon die. Distraught over Freya, Meg couldn't focus even while eating, and finally asked her master if those entwined by the Reaper were truly beyond help. The master explained that everything has its destiny, which should not be twisted. However, he noted that some fates can be changed while others cannot. Meg's curse was one that could be changed. Unwilling to give up, Meg wanted to save Granny Freya and couldn't stand to see her surrounded by the Grim Reaper. After arguing with her old-fashioned master, Meg visited Granny Freya's home. Granny prepared dinner for her and, hearing about the argument, reminisced about her own disputes with her late husband, noting that arguments can deepen understanding between people. She offered Meg temporary shelter, and her home, filled with the scent of flowers from the garden, seemed very old. Meg inquired about Granny's other family members. Her husband had passed away, and her son hadn't been home in a long time. Meg silently pondered how she could help Granny Freya. During her stay, Meg spent her free time at the library, searching through various magical books, but she found no way to rid Granny of the Grim Reaper, whose presence was growing stronger. One day, Granny Freya took Meg to her favorite spot, beside an old tree she had been close to since childhood. Touching the tree, Meg felt its chaotic magical energy and realized it was beyond saving. Remembering her master's words that everything has its own destiny, some of which cannot be changed, Meg accepted this and resolved to fulfill Granny's wishes in her remaining days. Meg asked Granny what she would want to do if the world were to end tomorrow. Granny expressed a desire to spend time with her family. That night, Meg took her familiar and went to Granny's son's place, bringing him and his family back early the next morning. They gathered under the old tree, framing it as a chance for the neglectful son to visit home. The son, reminded of playing there with his deceased father, and the afternoons his mother brought cookies, was nostalgic. Now, with a daughter of his own, seeing his family together made Granny Freya deeply content. She thanked Meg, expressing her happiness and appreciation for meeting Meg, who had brought her more joy than any other witch, allowing her to spend her final days peacefully with her loved ones. Granny touched Meg's hand, and Meg promised to become a stronger witch and bring even more happiness to Granny Freya. But in the next moment, Granny's hand slipped away. The Grim Reaper had taken her. She passed away peacefully, sitting quietly. At least in her last moments, Granny Freya was happy. Suddenly, Meg's master appeared and told her that no one can change the end of a destiny, but she had changed how it looked. He acknowledged her efforts, reminding her that she carried the hopes of many unseen tomorrows and must continue to live. Meg nodded, determined to fulfill her mission and live well. In her final moments, Granny Freya left Meg one last tear of happiness. Meg's master recently went on a business trip to North America for an international magic conference of the Seven Sages. Meanwhile, Meg stayed home, idly watching the news. The conference had ended, but she didn't know when her master would return. She then saw news about Sophie, one of the Seven Sages, and a genius magical girl of the same age as Meg. While Meg was still an apprentice witch, Sophie was already celebrated worldwide as a princess, receiving extensive praise online. Feeling frustrated, Meg decided to sleep on it. The next morning, Meg woke up to a beautiful older sister placing her foot on Meg's mouth. She immediately opened the window and vomited. The witch across from her, calling herself Prayer from the East, and also one of the Seven Sages, wore a smug expression. Due to recent magical influences, the ecosystem was changing. After the conference, Meg's master had gone to investigate, so he asked Prayer to look after Meg in his absence, not out of concern for his disciple, but rather to ensure his house remained intact. Speechless, Meg asked Miss Prayer to wash her feet first, since she couldn't quite appreciate this kind of blessing. Meg brewed some herbal tea for Prayer, using her own blend, which Prayer greatly enjoyed, and acknowledged Meg's talent. Meg was still only an apprentice, content with her daily joy of tending to her herb garden. Prayer wanted to see it, and Meg planned to harvest some mint to make mint oil for Prayer's foot bath. Before Meg arrived, the area around the house was barren. Her master had tasked her with caring for this forest. Initially reluctant and preferring to play, Meg took it on as her first job from her master and nurtured what became known as the Witch's Forest. Over 10 years, what was once barren had transformed into a beautiful herb garden. The soil quality showed it was well maintained. However, recently things had been developing strangely, whether in climate or environment. The root cause was human interference with nature, leading to air pollution and deforestation. The land had lost its natural state, yet those in power thought they could instantly restore it with magic. While picking mint leaves, Meg remembered how, as a child, she had planted too much mint, nearly overpowering the forest. She had tearfully asked her master if they should burn it, but he had taught her that every being has its innate characteristics and way of living. Witches needed to understand and interpret these, living in harmony with them, rather than resorting to brute force. Now hearing Prayer's explanation, Meg learned that when plants are cut down and their numbers reduced, the magic diffused over the land loses its direction, potentially concentrating in larger entities and becoming uncontrollable. Maintaining the balance of the original source is a cardinal rule for magic practitioners. When Prayer asked what Meg would do if she had power, she replied without hesitation, "Gather wealth and fame, and create a harem of handsome men." She didn't think much about the future, saying life was short and she should make herself happy. Later, Meg gave Prayer a foot massage and took the opportunity to enjoy the smoothness of her legs. Prayer enjoyed it too, and offered Meg a position as her assistant once she was ready. Meg imagined this scenario, but knew she had to consult her master first. Prayer continued to entice her, suggesting that exploring the world could also be in line with her dreams and goals. Meg declared her dream was to conquer the world. At midnight, Meg was meditating alone in the yard when Prayer found her. Prayer said she never needed such practices. She was a genius who could advance magic through inspiration and knowledge alone. That night, feeling melancholic, Meg asked Prayer what she would do if she only had 1 year left to live. Prayer had long sensed that something was off with Meg. Reluctantly, Meg revealed the curse she was under and showed her the 4 tears she had collected, unfortunately, only 2 of which were tears of joy. Given the pace, collecting 1,000 tears in a year seemed ludicrous. Meg even doubted whether fragments of emotions truly held such power. Prayer admitted she didn't know either, as emotions have little use in modern magic. Only ancient legends spoke of the incredible power residing in tears. After feeling the bottle, Prayer did sense a unique energy. However, she suggested she would first collect data and investigate what qualifies as a tear of joy, then look for magic or potions that could replicate that state. Of course, such an approach would be challenging, which explained Meg's despair. When Prayer offered her an assistant position during the day, Meg was genuinely tempted, but she doubted she'd live that long. Meg realized she had internally given up hope, which made Prayer laugh. To cheer her up, Prayer planned to show her something exciting. That night, there was a meteor shower, but the full, bright moon made it invisible here. With a snap of her fingers, Prayer created a sky full of stars, and with a wave of her hand, countless meteors poured down like rain. Witnessing the power of one of the 7 sages, Meg felt her troubles were trivial. Although she had already resigned herself to death, seeing the meteor shower made her realize the endless possibilities of magic. Prayer encouraged her to wish upon the meteor shower, not a joke about conquering the world, but her true desire: to live, escape death, and become a formidable witch. Meg eagerly made her wish, and Prayer assured her she would indeed become a great witch. A few days later, Meg's master finally returned. Prayer immediately discussed with him allowing Meg to be her assistant. Naturally, the master agreed, considering it a good opportunity. So they made it a deal. Meg had to survive. Inspired by having a dream, Meg perked up. If she could survive this year, endless possibilities awaited her. Unbeknownst to them, the otherworld ritual was approaching. To enjoy interactions with beings from other realms, many tourists had come to their town. Meg's master was supposed to conduct the opening ceremony of the otherworld gate, but unexpectedly twisted his back. However, The ritual couldn't just be postponed, as their town was a hotspot for magical energy accumulation and needed to release this excess magic. The opening of the Otherworld Gate was a crucial ceremony for this purpose, beyond the capabilities of an ordinary magic practitioner. Therefore, the master called upon Sophie, the prodigious young witch of the 7 sages. Early in the morning, Meg, shivering from the cold, rushed to light the furnace and turned around to see Sophie, the genius she had only seen on TV. Sophie would be staying at their house for a while to prepare for the Otherworld ritual. Since Meg was more familiar with the town and the Otherworld Gate, she would be accompanying Sophie during this time. At 17, some are still witch apprentices, while others have become world-renowned sages. Facing such talented peers, Meg couldn't help feeling somewhat inferior. When Sophie suggested visiting a place known for its open doors, Meg, as a local, naturally acted as her guide. However, it was exceptionally cold that day, reminding Meg of the time she used her master's broom to play curling on ice, much to her master's annoyance. Yet, Sophie remained silent, showing no interest in discussing it. Although Meg praised her, Sophie showed no reaction. To avoid causing a stir in town, Sophie changed her hair and eye color before they entered. In the town, everyone greeted Meg warmly, and some children even joked with her, annoying her greatly. Sophie's disguise worked well. Everyone just saw her as Meg's friend. However, she noted something odd. People only referred to Meg as Faust's disciple, and never by her name, indicating that she was not a recognized witch. Soon they reached the gate opening site. Sophie casually drew a magic circle and constructed a hypothetical gate. Meg was shocked. She hadn't yet shared the characteristics of the land's magic, the details about the gate, or the construction techniques of the magic with Sophie. Yet Sophie had already figured it out on her own. No wonder she was considered a genius magician. Seeing this as a learning opportunity, Meg asked Sophie how to master these techniques. Sophie generously shared her knowledge, explaining that one should first understand the chemical and physical compositions and then recreate them with magic. Meg, overwhelmed by the complexity, concluded she couldn't manage it. Suddenly, Sophie's stomach growled. Meg took her to the best bakery in town for a meal. While eating, Sophie observed the townspeople, noting their apparent happiness and peaceful lives. She then asked Meg why she studied magic. Meg explained that she was adopted by her master and naturally began learning magic from him. When Sophie asked if Meg had any goals she wanted to achieve with magic, Meg unhesitatingly answered, to make a lot of money, although surviving was her immediate concern. Sophie remarked that Meg was carrying too much on her shoulders regarding magic usage, pointing out that there are many methods more efficient than magic for making money or living a long life. Essentially, Meg lacked a clear purpose for learning magic, which is why, despite having a powerful teacher, she wasn't recognized as a proper witch. Sophie's words deeply affected Meg, prompting her to ask about Sophie's own goals. Unexpectedly, Sophie revealed that her goal was to make magic disappear from the world, to erase the magic that had taken everything from her. They shared similar backgrounds, but Meg had too much to let go of to truly master magic, including family, homeland, friends, and dreams. She was supposed to focus solely on her goal. Meg took this as a joke, and Sophie didn't elaborate further, even stealing some of Meg's bread. Though she claimed not to care, Meg pondered Sophie's words that night, wondering what her life would be like without magic. Disturbed by these thoughts, she made tea late at night, finding her master also awake. She shared her conversation with Sophie, and her master then told her Sophie's story. Born in a small northern country with extraordinary magical powers and distinct blue hair and red eyes, she was labeled a demon child. Her talents alienated those around her, and at 5, when her magic manifested, it was seen as demonic in her magic-limited homeland, leading her parents to abandon her. Later, the Magic Council adopted and raised her. No wonder Sophie told Meg she had too much. For someone who detested magic, Meg's aimless, natural approach to learning it was unbearable. Sophie didn't want to be alone. She performed magic worldwide to make people happy and gain acceptance, trying to regain what she lost to magic through magic itself. Faust also praised Meg for never showing a hint of chaos despite her noisy, unambitious nature, hoping the light in Meg's heart could melt the ice in Sophie's lonony. Meg didn't want Sophie to continue suffering either. The next day, Fresnay visited Meg's house and brought her a comfort gift, and even proposed to her on the spot. Meg was preparing the materials needed to open the gate when Sophie came to check on the progress. Fresnay could hardly believe he was seeing the legendary genius girl in person. As days passed, the preparations were nearly complete, and during this time, Meg and Sophie got to know each other better. Today, Sophie completed the last technical construction needed. Tomorrow is the Festival of the Beyond. Meg noticed that Sophie's technique for stabilizing the connection to the otherworldly space was slightly different from her master's Lijksbankgrond. Sophie explained she wanted to enlarge the gate's dimensions, but Meg worried this could destabilize it, making it unpredictable. She suggested consulting her master, but Sophie insisted on her approach, confident from her experience with large spells that it would work without issues. Reluctantly, Meg turned a blind eye. Although the festival was set to start the next day, the streets were already filled with a festive atmosphere. Meg and Sophie rested by the river. Taking this opportunity, Meg tried to open up Sophie's heart, telling her that it was because of magic that she could do this project with her. She expressed her love for magic and mentioned that home isn't just about where one is born. If Sophie ever felt lonely, she was welcome to visit her and her master any time, jokingly adding that she could charge an entrance fee. Sophie, speechless, laughed and joked that she would have to kill Meg later. On the day of the festival, everything was ready. Sophie placed her hands on the ground to activate the spells. After 3 spells, they were connected to the otherworldly realm. Next, they used auxiliary magic to stabilize and secure the space. The 6th action was to open the gate, and the 7th was to establish a barrier. They just needed to maintain this until the gate fully opened to complete their task. However, a burst of black mist suddenly emerged from the gate, and the barrier instantly vanished, revealing a door that ordinary people couldn't see the terrifying mist from, and they even cheered for the opening of this otherworldly door. Meg was alarmed. The otherworld contained dangers, including unknown pathogens and mythical creatures not present in their world. The barrier was supposed to identify and eliminate these threats, but now it was gone. They couldn't let these dangers enter. Meg quickly calmed herself, instructing Sophie to rebuild the barrier while she bought time. She frantically drew magic circles in the air to block the mist from attacking the people. Soon, her magical power was depleted, but fortunately, Sophie quickly reassured her that everything was under control. The black mist vanished, and everyone thought of it as just a magical performance. Realizing the truth, Meg was overwhelmed, unable to believe that even with the barrier broken, there were no issues, thinking she had overreacted. During the closing speech, she even had tissue stuffed in her nose. However, Sophie praised her for doing well, and Meg took the blame upon herself, rationalizing that a novice witch making mistakes only gets scolded a bit. After all, Sophie just wanted the festival to go well and didn't want to leave bad memories in the town. Sophie was touched by these words, and for the first time, she showed the brightest smile Meg had ever seen.